This one is a pretty common story, but let's see what we can do with it. 5-minute Bible study, by the way. Matthew 14:13 to 21. When Jesus heard what had happened, that John had been murdered and put on display at a party, he withdrew by boat privately to a solitary place. Hearing of this, the crowds followed him on foot from the towns. When Jesus landed and saw a large crowd, he had compassion on them and healed their sick. As evening approached, the disciples came to him and said, "This is a remote place and it's already getting late. Send the crowds away so they can go to the villages and buy themselves some food." And Jesus replied, "They do not need to go away. You give them something to eat." We have here only 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish, they answered. "Bring them here to me," he said. And he directed the people to sit down on the grass. Taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, and looking up to heaven, he gave thanks and broke the loaves. Then he gave them to the disciples, and the disciples gave them to the people. They all ate and were satisfied, and the disciples picked up 12 basketfuls of broken pieces that were left over. The number of those who ate was about 5,000 men, besides women and children. So first of all, this is after John the Baptist was killed. And so here Jesus hears that John has been murdered, beheaded, and that he's being used to entertain in his death in this dance. And this man who put his life in danger in order to set the stage for Jesus, well, now he got killed because of it. And just because he's human, I just try to wonder, okay, did he feel guilt? Did he feel responsible? Like, did that weigh heavy on him? And he went off to be alone, perhaps to cry or pray or feel his guilt or whatever he was feeling, or vent to God, who knows? But he needed some time to regroup. But people heard he stepped away and that he had left for a bit, and they wouldn't have it. They craved him so much that they watched this boat moving and they ran alongside it on shore, trying to follow it wherever it went so they'd be where it landed. And I thought, what an effort, what a commitment on these people, what a hunger, and they're giving into the hunger, like they're chasing him. And then Jesus landed, and he saw the crowd, and he went to speak with them and be with them. He didn't try to avoid them in his hurt. He knew that they were needy and broken, so he went to them. And I wrote here that he felt so sad for them and hurt for them. But in his own hurt, he went and healed others' hurts. And as someone who has depression, I read one time in a book from someone who I know she struggles with depression as well, that something that she's learning is, when you feel that way, go help someone else who feels sad. And even though it feels like the world's hardest thing to do at the time, when I actually do it, it is true. She's right. It brings a joy when you try and lift someone else up when you are feeling down. Anyways, it was getting dark, so the disciples were worried that these guys weren't going to have enough food. And I think sometimes it's viewed as they're cold or they're harsh. But I actually thought, this is great. They cared. That's why they jumped on it and wanted a solution and said, okay, let's send these guys home so that they have enough time to get food and it's not too dark out. And so I actually considered that a caring thing. And Jesus heard it and he thinks, great idea. We need to help them. But they actually don't need to go away. You can feed them. They can be taken care of and get what they need because you will give it to them. You will give what they need. And I feel like I can hear them saying, whoa, 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 Jesus, wait a second. Look what we've got. We've got a few loaves of bread. We've got a couple of fish. I don't know where you got the idea that we had a stockpile of food, but this is it. This is all we've got. And it's not enough to do what you're asking us to do. And Jesus says, bring it all to me. I didn't say bring tons to me. Bring much to me. I said, bring me what you have. I asked you to do this. Now bring it to me. And I will make sure that what you have can get the job done. That it is enough to do my will. And then Jesus asked everyone to sit. And he takes the food, and I thought when he holds this food up, maybe people's stomachs are growling and they're just hoping for something. But he takes the food and he holds it in his hands and lifts it up. And I thought that's how little food there was. He could hold it in his hand and lift it up to pray over it. And he thanked God for it. He thanked God for the meager. He thanked God for what was there, for all that they had. And then he broke the bread. And then he had the disciples hand it out. He broke it, he ripped it apart, but then he gave it back to the disciples and told them to give it to the people. Don't hold on to it. Don't feed yourself first. It isn't for you. Give it to others. Pass it on. Feed the other people. Don't worry that it will be enough or not. And in the end, it says that they all got what they needed. The receivers and the givers had what they needed. And there was leftovers. So everybody had enough, they were satisfied, they were content, they had enough for every single person, receiver and giver, and then there was still more to go around, leftovers. There was more to give. If more people showed up, they had it. It didn't run out. Over 5,000 people. And as a note here, I wrote to myself, keep giving. It doesn't have to be a lot, just enough. You have more to give. Jesus doesn't run out, expire, or deplete. And so if God is asking you to do something and you feel like, whoa, God, look, I think you got me confused with someone else because this is all I have. I actually don't have what it takes to do this. And he'll say to me, Nancy, bring it to me. Bring what you think is so little. Bring what you think is not enough. And let me show you that it is more than enough. You don't have too little. You don't have less than. When you put it in my hands, you always have more than enough for yourself and to give away. You don't need to hold on so tight. And then comes exercising trust and doing it. But if God is asking you to do something right now and you feel like he's asking the wrong person or like you don't have what it takes, or you don't have enough, if he's asking you, he will make sure it can get the job done. Give it to him and see what he can do. He will not run out until the job is done.